In today's self-storage world, if there is a listing priced anywhere near a good price, it won't stay on the market long. So let's talk about phase 2 of deal mode. What to do when you find a deal you think may be one that you'd be interested in. My name is Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Quick Start Academy. And what that is a website with training that supports the small investor who wants to get into the self-storage business or who wants to strategically grow their self-storage business, do so in a way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And we're in the middle of a Getting Started series, and last week we talked about what to initially do when you find a project that is one that you're interested and you think you're going to be interested in purchasing. So now let's talk about the second part of deal mode, which is getting the property to stand still. Your goal, if you find a property, your goal is to get it standing still at a known price for a known period of time. Now, I know today, in today's market, it may be a little challenging, especially with these dates where there's a call, an offers to be due. Sometimes I participate and send one. Most of the time I don't. My thoughts are, if there is a REIT or a big player interested in that, they're going to outbid me anyway. So I will wait, and then a few days afterwards, if it hasn't sold or isn't under contract, then I will submit my LOI. But that's just how I do it. But the most important part of this second phase of what I'm calling deal mode is getting the property standing still. Now, I recommend using a letter of intent rather than just submitting a contract. So what is a letter of intent? A letter of intent is just what it says. It's a letter that outlines the basic outlines of a proposed transaction, and it covers the important points that the seller will say yes or no to, such as what is the price, how long is the due diligence period, what is the deposit, what are the contingencies that will be in the contract, when will you close. Those are typically the main items that we cover in a due diligence letter. Now, the reason I like due diligence letters are because we're negotiating the basic terms of a deal that are most important to me as a buyer and most important to the seller as a seller. We get those business points negotiated out first. Seller is saying yes, I will sell it. Yes, I'll take it off the market. Yes, this group can buy it. Then, when you submit the contract and you start getting into all of the things that can upset a seller, like indemnity, indemnification, how the unpaid receivables are going to be treated, all the little nitty-gritty things that can need to be worked through. In the seller's mind, by agreeing to that letter of intent, he's already sold the property. If I just submitted the contract first, that's a lot to work through, and there's a lot of things in a contract that can irritate a seller. So that's why I like doing the letter of intent first. Also, usually the seller can agree to it without an attorney. His attorney is going to have to review the contract. In most cases, the sellers will agree to the letter of intent on their own or with their broker. Now, in the book Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, I've gone into a lot of detail about what should be in a letter of intent or should be in a contract. I can't give you letters of intent or give you contracts that we use because I'm not an attorney, and I'm sure there's a lot of attorneys out there who may happen to see this and would love to let me know in a legal way that I was practicing law without a law license if I had contracts and letters of intent on my website. So I don't have them. So in this episode, what I want to go over are what I think are the best practices today on getting a self-storage facility standing still at a known price for a known period of time while you conduct your due diligence. Last week we talked about analyzing it to know if it's something you want to go for. Now, if it is, here's how you go for it. Best practice number 1. I mentioned this last week, but I really think it's important to reiterate in today's market, because very often you're competing with a number of people, other people who are interested in buying a particular property. So if it's something that I think I'm interested in, I immediately go look at it. I try to go look at it before I've submitted a letter of intent. One, it'd be great to get to know the agents and the seller if I could, but I want them to know that I'm serious. I'm serious enough to travel and go look at the property. Then if my letter of intent is sitting next to someone else's letter of intent, I've seen the property and they have it, I've already got a leg up on it. So best practice number 1, if at all possible, see the property prior to submitting your letter of intent. Best practice number 2, know your numbers. You've done an analysis. Trust your analysis. Do your analysis in a way that you can trust your numbers. You know what you can pay, up to what number you can pay and still hit your benchmark and target numbers. Know those numbers. If you can get it at 2 million, if it's listed at 2.5, you need to buy it at 2 million to 2.1 to hit your numbers. Don't be going in there and throwing offers of 1.2 or 1.5. So figure out what you can pay, trust your numbers, and offer maybe not the top number, but close to it. You want to be in the running. Best practice number 3, if at all possible, meet the seller. I can't tell you how many facilities we've been able to close on because I've developed a relationship with the seller, and the seller can identify with me or identify with our group. If at all possible, I want to meet that seller. I want to compliment the seller on what he's created. But more importantly, I want to find out what's motivating that seller. Why is that seller selling right now? He'll think, or she will think, it's because of the money most of the time. It's never about the money. It's about what they think the money's going to give them. If the money's going to give them a chance to travel with their family, then that's what I talk about every time I talk to them. I'm the person that can help you travel with your family. You work with me, you'll be traveling with your family. But I really want to establish that relationship. And believe me, people would rather sell to somebody that they know, that they like and have built rapport with, than sell to just a large company. Best practice number 4, be someone that you would want to do business with. For example, don't have a business strategy where you go in and attempt to tie the property up for a high price knowing you're going to come down $200,000-300,000 in the due diligence. Just don't be that person if at all possible. Now, I'm not saying I've never come down in price after doing an inspection, but it's not part of my acquisition strategy. If you were selling, you wouldn't want the buyer to do that with you. And stay in communication. If there's an agent involved, I stay in communication with that agent. I let them know where we are in the process. If there's ever an issue, like with an appraisal or a loan, if I've been in communication, they will have appreciated it and will advocate for us as they're dealing with their sellers in most cases. Again, I've said this in other episodes, but my goal is to make that agent look good to their client. Why? Because I want that agent bringing more business to me. They know what we're interested in buying, and I want to be a buyer that agent would want to do business with. But just be that type of person. Do what you say you're going to do, and do it by when you say you're going to do it, if at all possible. And if there's a problem, immediately communicate with them and keep everybody in the loop. Then, once you have an accepted letter of intent, immediately turn that over to your attorney, if at all possible, to generate the offer. That means you have an attorney picked out that's part of your team. If at all possible, we like to generate the contract. If the agent says we're going to generate the contract, no problem. But make sure the attorney has your accepted letter of intent. Then, when the contract comes in, give it to your attorney to review. My experience is, at the end of the contract period, it's usually the attorneys negotiating and finalizing the deal. They'll be talking about indemnifications and legal issues like that that protect everybody, but are stuff I'm not that interested in. I'm interested in the numbers, what the deal's going to do for myself and our team and our investors, and I let the attorneys figure out the last little piece of it. But have that attorney ready to go so that you can respond quickly once that letter of intent is turned into a contract. Then, once the contract's executed, now your due diligence starts. That property is under your control for this amount and this length of time. Next week, we'll talk about how to dive into the due diligence period. Thank you very much. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. That's the financial analysis modeling tool that we use that will tell us what we can pay for the property. If you're not using it, I really invite you to look at it. It's at creatingwealththroughselfstorage.com. Click the Storage World Analyzer tab, or you can go straight to storageworldanalyzer.com. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week.